Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark for Audio46. Today I'm going to be trying out the brand new HD620S from Sennheiser. So these are the closed back 600 series, and I just wanted to compare them to a couple 600 series that we have over here. Taking a look at the Sennheiser HD650 and the classic Sennheiser HD600. Since these are closed back headphones, you're going to be able to use them for recording, which is why I'm really excited to be using them today. They're also going to be really good for live use, for monitoring use, and you're not going to get too much sound escaping or entering the listening area. I just quickly wanted to talk about what's in the box for these. It's pretty standard across the board. It's the headphone, a cloth carrying case, and an adapter. The 600 is going to come with a 3.5 millimeter input, and so will these. And then the 650 has a 1/4 inch input, so the adapters are going to be different for the 650 as they are for the 600 and the 620S. Just taking a look at the styling on all these, obviously it's going to be different because of the closed back, but also they take a lot of design characteristics from the 500 series. So I tend to like that a lot. I think they look very sleek, but that's just me. In terms of soundstage, that's where we're going to see the biggest difference between these three. These are going to be the shallowest, with the 650 being the widest. It's not that much less wide than the 600. So if you like that soundstage, you're going to get pretty close to that. If you're using these to record, then you're definitely not going to be losing out on much soundstage. If you're listening, that's a bit of a different story, but for recording purposes, if you like that 600 sound, you're really going to like these. People have been asking if these are like a closed back 600, and I don't necessarily like that comparison because they share some similarities with the 650 and they share some similarities with the 600, but they feel like their own thing. Just mentioning the bass response that I get from these are going to be very tight and pretty neutral in the same way that the 600s are. What I'm getting from these more than the 600 is that sub bass, the palpable feeling from the bass, and the extension goes a little further. The 600 is a super neutral headphone, and that carries over into this, but it's not as V-shaped as the 650 is. To me, the 650 is still going to be the warmest headphone out of the three of these, but this is a little bassier than the 600, but definitely not as warm as the 650 gets. In terms of the presentation of the mids, I thought that was the best sonic picture of these headphones. So you get a lot of the upper mid character that you would get from the 650, but because there isn't that warmness that's extending from the bass range, you don't get all those low mids. So mid sounds like vocals and guitars just come out really clearly, and I don't want to say that they're pushed ahead in the mix, but there's a nice clarity to them that brings them forward. The mids in the 600s are going to be the flattest out of the bunch, with the least doctoring going on to the response in that range. So these are going to be a little brighter in the upper mids, around 1,000 to 2,000, and that V shape is still present on the 650, but you're also getting more low mids, so around 300 to 500 is also boosted, but here it's just that upper range, so you really get a nice glassiness and a character to the mids that's not present on the 650s or the 600s. Next, I just wanted to mention the highs on these, and this pair of headphones right here is going to be the brightest out of the bunch. There's a similar high-end quality that the 620 has to the 650, but you don't see that surgical dip at 10K that really brings down the brightness in the 650s. Here, it's all the way up, but also you're not competing with the bass information and the low-mid information that's in the 650. So although there is a little bit more brightness in the response curve, these tend to feel more bright because they're not competing with that sonic information. The 600s also have some spots that are a little brighter and more boosted in the treble range, but overall they're going to be very, very flat. So I noticed that because of that, they didn't sound as bright to me. Everything was super even, and there was a noticeable brightness increase in the 620S over the 600. So the biggest complaint that I'm going to have about these headphones is the cable itself. The headphones themselves are great and there's some great build quality on them, but the cable isn't up to the same standard that the headphones are, at least to me. I know that Sennheiser has a 2-year international warranty, so if anything does happen to these headphones, you're going to be able to replace it or contact Sennheiser, but at the same time, it's a detachable cable, and if you don't want to worry about that hassle, replacing a cable is pretty simple. I can't say that the cable feels cheap, because all of Sennheiser's quality control is really, really great. They handpick drivers on these so that they're pretty similar in uniformity, and I haven't listened to a pair that sounds vastly different than another pair. What my main complaint is about the cable is the fact that there's a coupling to plug in the single-ended cable. So if you take a look at both the 600s and the 650s, they have stereo detachable 2-pin ports right here. And not putting a 2-pin cable in the 620S is fine, but the fact that there's only a single-ended cable kind of makes me feel like they're not as high quality as the 600 or 650. On the other hand, there have been some noticeable improvements to comfort, and I've always thought that the biggest downside to the 600 was the fact that it was a little narrow across the headband, and they've improved this significantly by widening the headband. They've used some more high quality materials in the foam that goes across the headband, and the ear pads are definitely more comfortable. So if you're going to be using these for recordings and you're going to have them on for extended periods of time or for live use, that's really beneficial, and they're way more comfortable. All in all, guys, these have some great mid presentation, a pretty neutral low end with a little more sub bass added than usual, and there's some extra brightness to liven up the sound and give it a nice character. Overall, my favorite music to listen to on these was vocal music and things that had a lot of character and punch to them. So I liked listening to a lot of rock music on these. I thought pop music sounded great, and things that just want a little bit of liveliness because of those bright highs. Also, the way that the mids were tuned, vocals really just pop out nicely, but they also sit well in a mix. The added comfort is really something that's noticeable as soon as you put them on, and if you've stayed away from the 600 or the 650 or the 660S2 because you thought that they were a little narrow for your head, these are going to take care of that problem and be really nice to wear. Again, I gotta reiterate, I'm not a fan of the cable. It does feel like a downgrade from the 600 and the 650, giving you a single cable. And the coupling on there, if you were to damage it, I think that it would be very difficult to plug back in. So good thing that it's a detachable cable, meaning that you can replace it. Guys, the Sennheiser 620S, the Sennheiser HD600, and the HD650 are all available at Audio46. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe on the video. And if you have any thoughts about these headphones or any questions, comment down below and just let me know what you think. Again, I'm Mark for Audio46. Hope you're having a good one, and peace out.